Trade limitless on HMX, the next-gen decentralized perpetual exchange. Trade crypto, FX, commodities with up to 1000x leverage on the Arbitrum network. Benefit from low fees, multi-asset collateral support, and cross-margin flexibility. Check them out.
From meme to utility, Floki has it all. NFT metaverse game called Valhalla. Floki University, DeFi, charity, and shopping. Floki is governed by the people, for the people. Floki, together, there is no stopping us.
Hello everyone, and welcome to day 5 of the annual Free Trade Congress by the Birb Nest. Thank you very much to our partners for their support again this year. It's certainly valued, and I think as the videos show, that they provide some value into the market as well. My name's Chris, sometimes known in the industry as Milky. We have here with us Marcin from Imperia. Is it Imperia? How do you pronounce it? Sorry,
Imperia,
Marcin.
right? Yeah. Hi guys,
Imperia,
thank you for having me here.
Okay, so this is my first involvement in the Birb Nest Congress this year, so I thought we could introduce ourselves quickly. I'll start. So I've been in the industry now for, I think, over 3 years. Originally, I was involved in legacy markets as a, I suppose you call it a cyclic trader or investor. I migrated through into crypto from recommendation of a friend. And when I understood that there was very little objective educational material to help people like myself at the time to come into this market with an understanding of what this market is about, the technology behind it, everything that's on offer, I decided to apply my skill set into making end users such as us knowledgeable about what they're putting their money into, turning them from gamblers into investors. So yeah, Marcin, feel free to introduce yourself, a little bit about the background.
One more time, hello everybody. My name is Marcin. I'm a founder of Imperia and the CEO. We are based here in UAE, in Dubai and Abu Dhabi. So my quest for blockchain started in 2016. I must say, in the meantime, I've been for 15 years in digital transformation at SAP in the various roles. And I was always searching for the potential of blockchain and Web3 and the kind of utility space, how they can transform those technologies, right? Because we have a bigger technology stack there, how those technologies can transform the real business processes and derive utility. So I only seen it in 2020, those possibilities. With the DeFi summer, and then I went full-time into it, and this is basically how Imperia started, and I will explain you later why I see the most of the utility in actually in identity space and how it is unlocking the broader utility of Web3.
Okay, well, thank you very much for that, Marcin. I thought that we'd start off with something a little bit, basic to try and help the viewers understand exactly what it is that we're going to be discussing today. So can you just go into a little bit about what are decentralized identities and what is the concept behind them and what do you see as its purpose in the industry?
Cool, thank you very much, Chris. So maybe let me share my screen. It will be a little bit easier to have that introduction. So if you see from let me do the full screen actually. When you look at the current world of data, right? Our data is in the different system, in the different applications. And just to give you a teaser, I'm not only talking about some KYC on personal data, but all the data that we have, what we buy, our prescription from the doctors, our work experience, work data, everywhere is just scattered across different data silos. On the social medias, you live in the silos, different data as well, right? And how it can change with the so-called decentralized identity, which is a self-sovereign identity concept, right? It's you basically own your data on the wallet, on the mobile device, and the data repository, and you can share that data with services with employers, education providers, DeFi, fintech, whatever the data is, right? That is purposeful for some particular use case, right? Across the industries. So that's a game-changing concept, because then you kind of curate your data. That will compare it to kind of, you have a plant and you grow it, like you put the water to that plant, you change the soil, you take care of it, you put it in the right exposure, that plant grows, it becomes beautiful. So that's a similar concept with the data. You take care of your data, and because the data is yours, it's very high quality. It can be used then in the AI downstream systems, which is very important, because in the age of AI that we live now, and we are progressing into more and more every day, the data is the most important asset when it comes to the AI algorithms and the possibility to return the high quality results. And now, what is like really the main features of the decentralized identity, right? So the first one is decentralized identifiers, and I will talk about it a little bit later in the detail. Verifiable credentials. Verifiable credentials is a cryptographic proof of data attestation, right? So it's basically a cryptographic proof that verifies that the data is issued by somebody, like your work experience, your references, your credit score for the bank, your KYC, if there's a KYC. So whatever somebody issued to you is basically this kind of signature, which is related to the ID on the blockchain. And it's private and secure. So as we said, it's encrypted with private keys. So it's the identity wallet and the self-sovereign identity is in that aspect similar to a crypto wallet, where you have your private keys. So I could say what we say in crypto, not your keys, not your crypto, here is not your keys, not your data. It should be portable, so you should be able to move those verifiable credentials across different wallets and interoperable across different ecosystems. And there should there be no central authority that can censor your wallet or censor the credentials that you have on the wallet. And it should be user-centric. So the way the system works, and that's just a brief overview. So we have the blockchain, which stores the DIDs and are encrypted with the keys, and the issuer, so the one who attests the data, and the verifier, that's very misleading naming convention. Verifier is the one that actually you share the data with, and they verify that the data is actually accurate, and the wallet holder is basically you. I will just go into two aspects of it on the decentralized identifiers. It's a little bit technical, but it enables us to understand that not all the wallets that claim to have decentralized identifiers are decentralized, and I think that's very important. So this decentralized identifier is basically similar to the IP address and the internet. Which has the scheme method and the specific identifier that is related to your keys. But the most important thing here that I would like to take from it, that there are many, majority of the projects actually, they use decentralized identifiers, but they don't provide you with your keys. They don't provide you with the portability and interoperability. So basically, they're just Web2 projects with decentralized identifiers. And we can argue that even the email is kind of decentralized identifier because it's your identifier. And the last slide, I would just want to go on the difference between verifiable credentials and NFTs, because a lot of NFT projects, they claim to do the identity, right? That they're identity focused. And NFT is beautiful technology, but it's mostly for assets ownership, for tokenization of the asset. Verifiable credentials are for tokenization of the information. The verifiable credentials are not transferable between the DIDs, so they are connected to one DID cryptographically. It's a little bit similar. It's not connected to the wallet address. It's connected to the DID, and the DID you can move and reconstruct in the different wallets. So it's really perfect technology for the privacy, as they are private basically, and they are very cost efficient because the blockchain is related to the DID and not to the verifiable credential itself. The verifiable credential is cryptographically encrypted. information, right? But it's not on-chain, it's off-chain. So it's a mix of off-chain and on-chain cryptography. One could say it's like layer 2 to the blockchain, but it's not really a correct statement. And as I said, the privacy aspect is, in my opinion, extremely important, because you always need to consent to share your verifiable credentials. Nobody can just see what is on your wallet, on your identity wallet. You share it and you choose what you share. So nobody can really recreate the full set of data that you hold in your wallet unless you give the consent for that. So let me just end up here with that small, short introduction. And Chris, we can progress further to the more practical use cases.
Well, I was thinking, we could cover a couple of things that you've shared in this presentation here today. So, would you say that the crypto projects who claim they're offering a decentralized identity solution, but present it in an NFT, would you class that as a decentralized identifier?
No, the decentralized identifier is the address. So it would be, in the case of NFT, it would be just the wallet, right? Like the address, which is on chain. So it's you can derive. So to be frank, right? There are 150 documented methods on the decentralized identifier, but Decentralized Identity Foundation. I'm a proponent of the blockchain one, but there are another 149. But the blockchain is immutable, right? And it's if you do it on public blockchains, then public infrastructure, because of course you don't want to put all your data on some private controlled blockchain that maybe the validators will disappear and basically the ecosystem is useless, right? So I think we can switch off the slides now.
Okay. So I
okay.
also wanted to sorry, yeah, please continue.
Yeah, so the NFTs, they can represent some kind of identity. If we talk about the profile pictures, like about the kind of communities that you want to show off that you belong to, right? But they're transferable, right? So your identity is not transferable, Chris. You are who you are, right? So it's if you get your if you get your diploma from the university, right? You cannot give it to me, or I cannot give you mine, right? It's yours, right? So that's the whole thing behind identity. And the NFTs. If I look even at the apes, right? It's having a monkey, a board ape in your wallet and identity. No, it's an asset. It's your access. This monkey represents your access rights to the club, basically, to the kind of a social club. And you could do it with verifiable credentials, but then you could not trade them. So it's a completely different use case. NFTs are for all the use cases where you want to have utility or transferable access rights. And verifiable credentials are for everything that you don't really want to transfer. It's like personal for you. And we have soul-bound tokens as well. So the kind of NFT that can be dropped on your wallet, which I think are very dangerous, because somebody can just, you can get it on your wallet and you can never read of it. So let's say you were once in the billionaires club with Jeffrey Epstein, and it stays in your wallet forever, right? So maybe that's not a good thing to have, right? Or you've been a friend of Doc Won from another scam project, right? So it's like this is. It's not private, right? So it's like I've seen the BBC. I'm not it's the mainstream media, right? But they raise actually interesting points about the fun NFTs for the football clubs. That there are some wars between the football clubs, so that people can identify you if they dox your wallet. That this guy, it's like my enemy. It's like this. Yeah. Local enemies that they create, and it may spark some violence, right? I'm not that extreme in that opinion, but the privacy of the data for me is actually important, right? So this is what
I just wanted to touch on that actually, because obviously the data is probably the most important thing here. So I'm just wondering, once the data has been submitted by users such as myself, how is it stored?
Okay, so you have like two scenarios basically. You have a Web3 scenarios where the data is submitted and can interact with the smart contract. So it's basically can change the state in the smart contract, right? So let's say I give you the simple use case. Let's say it's not a nice use case for traders, but let's say the regulations require that the DEX needs to have KYC. How you can have the on the DEX the KYC? It's but you can have a smart contract that let's say checks that the wallet that the transaction has been done is authorized with the KYC, right? And then the smart contracts is basically allowing the user to interact with the DEX, right? So you can have that one. So that no data is stored. It's basically the change of the smart contract is changed, and you can execute some transaction, right? That's a very basic example. But in the case of Web2, the best case is like that you can show your data, and when you disconnect the wallet, the data is disappearing from the another system, right? But that's some data needs to be stored by the Web2 companies to provide the service, right? Because if you apply for a job and you hand over your CV, then they need to have that CV for the hiring process, and this is the same here with the data. So it's a little bit in the Web2 side. This is why Web3 is so beautiful, right? Because you own it and you don't leave it. And in Web2 you need to kind of hand it over. So it's still better use case in my opinion. And in our wallet, in our case, we are working on the consent management, that you can withdraw the consent. But of course, this the local provider of the service that got the data needs to comply with the regulations, right? So if they don't do it, like, you cannot do much about it.
Sure. Well, thank you very much for that. And I just thought we'd move on to another topic that you've covered a little bit already. And basically, what do you foresee as the potential of this technology?
Yeah, first thing we need to recognize that the internet is missing the identity layer, right? And today there are a few big companies that we are streaming today that took over 60% of the internet data, right? And are monetizing user data. So Google was fined $2.5 billion for illegally monetizing data from logins. So when you log in with Google login, they are intercepting all the data on that front, right? And $2.5 billion they paid in Europe, and $500,000. It's called settlement, not defined in US, right? It's the different jurisdiction. But that's marketing expense, because they make more than 12 or 20 billion dollars per year from monetizing data from logins. It's their business model, it's their core business model. So what is changing with decentralized identity is that nobody can monetize the data from the logins, the third party. So you share it, okay, the Web2 provider can keep the data that you shared, but nobody can see it on the way. I think not many people recognize today what these companies are doing. So the privacy aspect is very important. And building now on it, coming back to your question, exactly. So whatever you want to do, even with the IoT devices, you need to have identity, right? So the non-identity cases are very, very limited. And here also, for the preservation of data, you can use zero knowledge proof. We can talk about later. But generally, all the use cases that require you to share the data. So all the HR use cases, right? So would you prefer to have your all work experience data, your performance from your work, if you change the jobs on your wallet, on the HR system of your employer that you can never show to the next employer? So this is this kind of things that you can have. But going further, we have proof of attendance protocol, right, on verifiable credentials, which also enables you to gather the insights and experiences. And then depending on this infrastructure, right, there are many use cases. You could reward the people for some experiences. It can be done on NFTs as well, right, actually, but NFTs are transferable. Here you know that you exactly reward the right person. The systems are very like anti-bot. So the bots cannot really hack those systems. So you really know that there's a human behind in that digital landscape, and they really share the data that can be verified, the high quality data. So it's really important in the case of the AI algorithms, and all kinds of data can be attested. And the commerce use case is also very nice, where if you imagine, like, you have a contract with your mobile phone provider, and you have a family and you have 5 mobile phones, five subscriptions. Now, if you could prove that what is exactly what you pay, or some bracket, which you could do with zero knowledge proof, if you had that data and you tell me you have that data, but I will tell you why you don't have that data, you could go to another one and get the better offer. But today you cannot really do that because you have a contract, which usually it's written that you cannot share your data, what you pay to one provider with another one. You cannot show them that contract. Generally, if you look at all the contracting use cases, the contracting use cases are private between two parties, and one party usually forbids to share those contracts with the third parties, right? But with the wallet and zero knowledge proof, you could just prove that you are with a different provider without disclosing the name. And let's say you are in the bracket of paying monthly between $200 to $400, and you can disclose the data selectively, and the algorithm will prove the property without disclosing the details, right? So that's, I think, very beautiful. The case of 18 years old, like today, to show that you are 18 years old, you need to submit your ID, right? Send it by email maybe. And it contains your biometrics, so the picture, full name, full date of birth, all the details, document number, where it was issued. It's just crazy the amount of information you need to disclose just to prove you are 18 years old, right? And with the zero knowledge proof and verifiable credentials, you can prove that the holder of the ID and the guy behind the wallet is 18 years old without showing any other information. So I think that's a beautiful technology, and there will be a lot of use cases.
I mean, some of the use cases that I really like about this concept, this technological development. For example, as somebody who's heavily involved in crypto on a daily basis, I've had to complete KYC on multiple centralized exchanges, which I never use. I just have them in case I need to off ramp for whatever reason through them, and then because I use decentralized exchanges in the vast majority, I also have to then KYC with on-ramp providers such as MoonPay, Transact, Ramp.
Correct.
So, just being involved in crypto, I've probably completed KYC for 40 different companies as an average, as a ballpark figure. And what I'd like is instead to be able to complete KYC with a single organization that keeps my data private, but then my identity and whatever else they need to know, let's say financials, can be verified without having to reveal who I am. So that's one use case that I really like the idea of, and another one is in banking as well. So, although I'm not a big fan of credit, such as credit cards and mortgages, but they're a necessity, a necessary evil. And filling out those documentation, all those forms, it's not only time consuming, it's stressful, leads to anxiety, and it's highly inefficient when it comes to the start process to end process before you get a decision. A decentralized identity solution like that, I think, could be a real viable alternative in the future. But of course, in that particular instance, I think one of the challenges is, when you've got these data monopoly companies such as Google and all the others that, whether they see there's a conflict for their revenue for the introduction of decentralized identities to be accepted, on government level, banking level, because of course, banks and institutions of that nature have to adhere to very strict AML laws. And although there are probably some differences from jurisdiction to jurisdiction, I think at the core, at its essence, it's generally the same globally because there is a global standard for AML. So on that note, for this industry to develop in that regard, what do you see as the solutions to be able to overcome that challenge from these Web2 big data companies with a history of, let's say, not acting in a fair manner, to be able to ensure that this technology can move forward and be commercially acceptable?
Yes, that's a great question. I just refer in 2 sentences to your use cases here. Those are great use cases. The KYC use case is the most obvious use case, right, that we have for reusable data, as we can call in the more mainstream name for verifiable credentials. AML is a little bit more tricky because different jurisdictions have different requirements, and it's not that globalized, I must say, like KYC, right? But coming back to the question, right? So I think in this case the regulators are actually with more on the side of their citizens with the right to the privacy. So as I mentioned before, some big companies has already been fined. It's now the marketing expense, but it works like this. They get fined once, they can fine second time, and then they will just, with the development of this technology, and I can see that has been changed, and I will refer to that in a moment. They will basically require that the logins by design are done from the wallets, and it will be just illegal to use Google login. It will be illegal technology to use in many jurisdictions. And what we've seen now the last week in European Union is the first jurisdiction that enforced across all the countries the login with the digital identity wallets, actually decentralized, which is a very nice thing. So the specification has been published. Actually, the European Union started the project on it. We are part of that in some working groups and attending the meetings to see those standards. But what I've seen, it has been a long journey since 2018. So 5 years to publish now. And the wallet should come on the national level in 24 months now. So it should be accelerated. I don't think it probably will take a little bit longer, but we see that gradual, first you need to have the infrastructure in place, right? Like the infrastructure that we are building, for example. You need to have infrastructure in place to be able to serve that use case. The moment there is an infrastructure and it's scalable enough to be viable alternative to the old system, definitely the regulators will support it, right? Because it's, what is the interest of European Union that the American companies are monetizing the data of their citizens? they have zero interest in that, right? Maybe in US, in California, they will keep it. Google will be able to monetize it because they pay taxes there. But in all other countries will definitely follow. I've seen now Japan actually as well. It start talking about the same regulations as European Union. There's actually next week there's a working group meeting in Japan in Japanese, so I'm not participating, but there's I speak a little bit Japanese, but not to discuss digital identity wallets, right? But it's so the first driver is regulation, but then there's a second driver, which is if you think about that infrastructure, right? So today, to move data from one legal entity, so one system, to another legal entity, you cannot move the user data like without the consent, and even the consent is problematic to manage. And here you give the user data on the mobile phone, they just scan the QR code, because this is how it works to get the verifiable credentials. And then they go to another system and they scan it and they pass it, right? So it's kind of, you outsource the infrastructure. If you think about the integration infrastructure, you outsource, and the verifiable credentials, if they are decentralized, they are based on the so-called public schemes of data. So those data schemes are published, and everybody can use it. It's like a common standard, right? So it's if you think about the maintaining the integrations of IT systems and storing it, it's a far cheaper solution. Basically, it's far cheaper solution, and it's very clean solution to the problem of sharing the data between the different systems. So I'm sure. Like I'm dealing with the customers here in Middle East that want to deploy that infrastructure, and they all see, mostly the big ones, if they have complex operations, a lot of entities. I'm now dealing with the customers that have 27 systems that that the employee needs to share the data with. So you also don't want the employee to create the data and to create a profile with name and everything in 27 systems. And of course, single sign-on can be used, but not all other data can be passed. So I see a lot of benefits. And at the end of the day as well, the verifiable credentials are on the wallet of the user. So you outsource your your space for for the storage as well, because it's on the mobile phone of the user. He's paying for the memory in the phone, not you on the server.
Yeah, so I mean, we've also touched a little bit upon the monopolies of Web2 data companies such as Google, Facebook, and such. Do you think what the EU have started and what it appears that Japan is now considering are the first steps to break up the monopoly of these Web2 data companies?
Maybe not entirely. It will. I don't believe it will be like entirely broken. I believe the logins have like kind of more of the data through spying, right? I would call it like the login, right? You say you do Google login, you think I'm just sharing my email and my name. No, you are sharing all the data that you have on your mailbox and all the Google Docs and so on. But we trade sometimes the convenience for privacy for convenience, right? That if you use Google Mail, Gmail instead of Proton or some other one, which is private one, it's like they track you, they monetize the data, they sell your data, to the retailers. So I believe that it will gradually change, and their share of the market and will wane a little bit, right? Will it like completely make them obsolete? No, of course not, because users will still be willing to trade their data to get access to the services, right? So, and I have nothing against it, right? If you are willing to do it, it's okay. But the problem here is that it's not really transparent. You don't know what they are doing with that data. And if there are any massive data leaks, like there are like some. Now I try to remember how much was that, but the cost of the identity theft of one incident is around $700. So it's a massive cost, right? So we need to be more careful with the data, and the way the world is becoming more digitalized, it's becoming really easier with the AI deepfakes to impersonate somebody. So the more data you have, the better you can impersonate somebody. And the AI algorithm, they put now the AI regulations, but like who in North Korea cares about the AI regulations in European Union, right? Like the internet has no borders, right? So it's so you can do the identity theft on the mass scale, and this is one also of the things that those wallets prevent, because if you use the wallets for login, it's very unique, and the identity theft it's very difficult to be done, right? It's practically impossible if you can identify somebody through the wallet, because it's immutable, it's cryptographic proofs, it's related to the IDs on the blockchain. I don't see honestly the way to hack it, right? And with the email or mobile phone number as the login methods in Web2, it's pretty easy. You've seen even Vitalik, I think he got something stolen because somebody got that SIM card hacked from his phone, right?
Yeah, so I mean, decentralized identities. I mean, I think many people can agree that it has such a wide variety of potential use cases. I mean, for me, you've touched upon it. I think what's now considered social fi. I think decentralized identities have a massive movement there. I think decentralized finance as well. Fintech services as well. So there's definitely so many use cases for this emerging technology, and based on that, I do foresee a time potentially coming up in the near future, because you have these trending periods, don't you, for various sectors. It could be NFTs, GameFi, layer ones, layer twos. At the moment, it's probably real world assets. I think the IDs will have that trending period. So how do people identify the difference then between a legitimate project and a fake project that's just looking to scam them?
So in identity space, the first thing is the keys. If the project claims to be identity project and offers the wallet, but the wallet you don't see that you have your own keys, it means it's a custodial, or maybe it has nothing to do with any cryptography, because how you know it, like somebody tells you that like the keys are custodial, and you need to trust them. So I think the non-custodial wallets, that's the one of the most the easiest ways to spot that the project is not really a legit one. The second one, there are grand promises, right? But we need to understand that there will be several ecosystems. This is what there will be many identity projects, because even like if I give you from my perspective, I'm able to work as a startup with 12, 15 people right now, expanding the team with 5 customers. I'm not able to work with more customers. I have 11 customers. I can work with 5, right? I don't have a scale to work with more. And so many projects will emerge. And I think as I said, the custodial solution is far easier than non-custodial one. So that's far easier to deploy. Then the second one is, if you have a custodial solution, somebody can have access to your data. And I've been in some discussions where the customer also wanted to have an access to the data in the wallet. And I said, it's not possible. It's like, it's by the design prevents it. Like there's no master key for you have your private key. In the case of custodial, you can do it, of course. Then, as I mentioned, like there are different organizations and different standards. So if the project does not participate in any kind of the standards, like Decentralized Identity Foundation, they don't need to be in the working groups of the European Union, right? Because the focus might be different geographies. Even if I would bet that standards from European Union get more, maybe not accepted one-on-one, but they will set some framework. And once you comply with that framework, it's easy to comply, let's say, in framework with Malaysia, because there's so much you can invent on that front, right? Of the standardization of those standards, right, across geographies. The third one is like the KYC, how they do a KYC, if they disclose really the provider of the KYC. If the data is stored after the KYC, because it's like you have different methods, right? So you can have a method that you store the data as well, on the server, right? Like in our case, we don't store any data. The data after the credential is put is erased after 15 seconds. And of course, the KYC provider needs to store the data, but then that's a regulated institution and not somebody in the middle storing the data. So that's another sign. And of course, like soul-bound tokens. If you see the soul-bound tokens identity project, like just run away.
Right. Okay. Well, I thought
it's like face tattoo. Soul-bound is like face tattoo. You get the face tattoo, and maybe after 5 years you don't like it anymore, but you show it to everybody.
yeah. Well, and then that's it. Once it's seen, it can't be unseen, or once it's shared, it can't be unshared. So I just thought for the viewers, if you have any questions at all for Marcin, especially, by the time.
But let me add one more perspective, Chris, if you don't mind, right? Because we need to understand that the identity is a part of something bigger. So now, if you think about the verifiable credentials, which is so beautiful in Web3, and that would be a lot of new projects built based on that, and can interact with the smart contracts, right? So I can tell you about one project maybe that I'm cooperating with, and the very high level. There's no NDA there, but the smart meters on the blockchain for the solar panels. So we have a smart meter on the blockchain, but you need to know who that meter belongs to, right? Because then you pay the settlement from that smart meters to somebody, and it's legally required to know who are you paying to, right? In that case, that the provider of the network can do it. And here it's like the identity, if it's all on the smart contracts, and you can interact with that smart contracts with the verifiable credentials that you have that you are the one behind that smart meter, and that smart contract actually that represents that smart meter. Because how do you connect the smart contract to the smart meter? This is physical, and this is a blockchain smart contract, right? So you can connect it basically through verifiable credential, right? And now if you think further, you have a smart meter at home on the blockchain for your solar panel. that generates massive energy surplus, and you get like, let's say $500 you get paid every month. So now you could use it in DeFi as the collateral as well, right?
Okay.
So because you have a steady income, so you can tokenize it, and you
Yeah.
still need the
Okay.
identity that it's really your tokenized income, right?
Mhm.
So I think the identity will play a major role in tokenization and in this kind of a more complex processes that you have thousands of them, right? And just the smart meter on this with the smart contract, and then using that as the collateral and the DeFi. That's only
Okay.
possible with this type of identity wallet.
That's actually really
So we can
interesting.
go
I
to
never
questions and
considered that.
answers, but wanted to give
Well,
you one
yeah.
typical Web3 use case.
Well, I
And you
mean,
will
that's
see more
actually.
projects like this emerging. Yeah.
I mean, that's a really, really good example, to be honest. I never considered that myself, where you could potentially create an asset class out of something with this technology that you cannot do in
Correct.
Web2. Like, can you imagine going to a bank and asking for a loan and saying that, oh, by the way, part of my income is from the smart meter? You can't do it. They just won't accept it. They'll laugh you out of the office.
No, you can do it.
But here,
Correct.
but yeah, so this is a really interesting use case. So it could open up a whole world of possibility for people, potentially even on the lower income bracket, to present an asset that they can use as collateral to access DeFi. So yeah, that's really, I really like that. I really like that idea. I'm going to explore that further.
Even if you are the organic gardener, right, and you sell it like there's some marketplace where you sell it on the decentralized marketplace, your goods that you produce, whatever goods you produce, right? Then you can prove it, and I think that those integration of the identity with the smart contracts and then tokenization of certain things, in particular related to the financial flows, that will be a very big thing in the future. Yeah, and there will be many projects that will cater that, because the amount of use cases, the number of use cases is practically unlimited.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I think as well. I mean, we've already covered in large part what was the next item on our agenda for everyone who's reading. We did have a broken down agreed agenda to discuss today, and the next role was the role of decentralized identity in blockchain innovation. And I think we've covered large parts of that as already. But maybe if there's anything else that we've not covered yet, you could potentially just elaborate further on now.
We could speak for another 5 hours. I think what is the most important one. Like, I really want the people to understand the decentralized versus centralized, right? Because that's the like I don't want to sound now like conspiracy terrorists, right? But it's the blockchain can be used in the very good causes, right? Like crypto, or maybe more controversial ones like CBDC, retail one, and the identity, not decentralized, non-custodial, has also a potential to be very controversial, right? So we need to be very, very careful about the real application of the technology and their purpose. Because maybe one more thing that I would like to cover about decentralized identity, you always need to accept the credential, and you can always erase it. Right, so nobody can give you anything negative, like on the social scores, what is like happening in the biggest country in the world right now. Nobody can issue a social score on the decentralized wallet, because if you don't accept it, you don't have it, right? And nobody can give you the negative opinion. So I have some use cases coming to me with the customer reviews and so on, and those are not actually that great. It's great to sign the review with your identity that is legitimate, and you can sign the information. I think that's a very interesting use case, because you've seen, and actually I covered the Crypto Bird was on my workshop at Jitex when we had it. I had just one after his, and it's like he referred that there was this a fake news about the ETF being Ethereum ETF, right? A month ago, that spiked the market. So with the wallet, that is connected to the Web3 social media platform, you could sign the information as well that they are coming from legitimate source without disclosing the information source. So that's very interesting, because then you have a higher quality of the information. And one more time, you cut out of all the bots, right? If you have it, if you need to log with this type of wallet to the Twitter, there will be no bots on Twitter, basically. And I don't know, maybe Elon will look at it, but it's for anything that you want to share and that test and sign. It's a very beautiful system that we can live in the world where, you know, you don't interact with the AI bots just posting the information and comments and creating the articles. Like the proof of humanity can be done with this type of technology, because what you see now on social media is like I'm active actually on LinkedIn, because we mostly do the enterprise space, and as well we do the like the skill-based organizations, so it's related to HR. So I see that the 1/3 of the post is created by ChatGPT, basically, right? So it's like the people are putting something in ChatGPT and posting. So we are coming into that loop that in the future the ChatGPT will start learning from the information that were created by ChatGPT, and we'll be like running in that circle, because there's more and more content created in such way. And with the verifiable credentials, like what we do, for example, like we have those skill-based model and skill-based proof of reputation. So let's say if you are a Web3 expert or blockchain expert, you don't need to, and that's proven with your proof of reputation, you don't need to disclose your anything like on your Twitter that your real name, or on LinkedIn. Actually, everybody has usually real name, right? But different platforms, maybe more decentralized, anonymous. But you can sign it that you have that proof of reputation in that area, and that's your opinion, and you are not the bot, or you are not just, you know, you vote that it's not from ChatGPT content. So there are a lot of possibilities here.
I mean, I like another possibility, actually, think about it. So, for example, I've recently started, well, not recently, I suppose early this year, I started becoming more interested in airdrops, because there's a lot of very exciting things out there at the moment. And one of the issues, I think, with airdrops is, so, for example, I'm a human. I don't have multiple accounts that I use to try and, spam or fraudulently engage in an airdrop activity to garner greater rewards. So, when you got these massive airdrops potentially, or some confirmed, some unconfirmed, that are coming out over the next 12 months or more, I'm going to be personally losing out to those who have created all these mass number of bots. You have protocols and networks such as, let's say, Linear, Zero Knowledge Sync, and they have this kind of method for proving that you're not a Sybil, but I don't trust it, because all you have to do is enter essentially a domain name that's available, confirm it, you sign it in your wallet, and apparently that's enough to declare that you're not a Sybil. But I think decentralized identities, especially for airdrops, for protocols and networks who use them as an asset to create excitement, engagement, activity, growth. They're massively losing out to this, what is essentially a serious fraud issue. And I think decentralized identities could be a solution to make sure that only those who are actively participating and engaging gain the rewards that they're entitled to as part of the strategy or campaign. Now, there's a number of ones that I've been involved with which aren't official, they're not officially confirmed. But I'll mention VeloCore, because they have confirmed, for example, that they're doing an airdrop strategy. So I think when you've got companies who, for example, partner up with these protocols and networks to offer airdrops, often they'll include a list of quests and campaigns that encourages a diversification of activities on a protocol or network. So I think, for example, if an organization such as yours were to partner up with an organization such as that, and then that, and also, you have launch pads as well, because some projects, as part of their launch campaign, they will, on day one of a TGE event, they will issue an airdrop to certain eligible participants. So, I think this is where, as well, decentralized identities have massive value add that benefits the crypto industry and blockchain industry. So yeah, I'm really excited. I'm hopeful that we see some kind of developments of that nature, especially in the next 12
We're
months.
working on that use case.
Oh,
We're working on
fantastic.
that use
Good to
case
hear.
with the verifiable credentials proof of attendance protocol. That basically you gather different interactions. That could be the quest, right? Whatever somebody designs, and based on, let's say, a number of quests you gathered, you can then, that's on the side of the person who creates the airdrop. Then let's say you have 9 from 10 verifiable credentials for the quest, then you can claim something to your wallet. And there's like, because as I said, the smart contract can interact with the verifiable credentials, then you can just store that DID already interacted. You cannot do it twice. That's the first thing. You cannot transfer those interactions to some other DID. It all stays private. And as you mentioned, like maybe the bots not. I think the bots can be a little bit already combated in the case of airdrops, but I know people that do like 50 wallets, right? On I think it was Alchemy. There was some airdrop like a few months back, some big one. I know the guy that had 50 wallets. He did like
That's a lot of
$50K
work to maintain, I tell you. I struggle with
airdrop.
one.
Yeah, but it's like 2 weeks. Like, but do you think many people earn like $50K dollars in 2 weeks time?
Yeah, honestly,
you know that.
But you know, I mean,
But
you know,
but you know, no value to the protocol, right? No value for the protocol who wants to engage the people and not to engage one guy into, you know, with 50 wallets into 300 activities, let's say, or whatever, however he's done it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I thought before we open the floor to anyone who may have some questions for you, that maybe, you know, as the founder and CEO of Emperia, maybe you could just elaborate a bit further about what sets your company apart from other decentralized identity providers in the space currently.
Oh, okay. So first of all, we look from the perspective that there will be many standards. So we focus on the multi-chain operations. So we have a multi-chain wallet, which is already released. This has been released a month ago. It's in the App Store for Apple and for iOS and Android. Currently, there's a Polygon, and we are just working on the Polygon ID, which is a pretty advanced ecosystem. We are also the leader in verifiable credentials in the Polygon ID marketplace. We have 33% of the marketplace are our credentials. So that we've been with Polygon for some time, and as I said, we are partnered there, and we cover all the flow. So from the issuer to through wallet, through verifier, the triangle that I show you. A lot of projects just cover one part of the flow, and I think it's very misleading, because if you cover one part, you cannot really make sure that everything works together. And right now we are creating that login mechanism, the multi-chain one, which will open source, that everybody can use it. There's maybe one more thing on the projects, right? So it's like, there are some projects I've seen that they promise you can monetize your data. If you share your data, you will get now the money in Google, then Google, right? I don't believe that. I believe that the data of one user is worth basically zero. Right, so it's how much can you get money for the login, even in crypto? 1 cent, 2 cents, it's immaterial. So I believe that the wallet should be constructed in such a way that you can freely share your data without any control, without any gates in between, even for payments for that sharing. If somebody wants to reward you, it should be done outside of that architecture, because if it's inside, it's then not clean from my perspective, because somebody can implement and plug some dirty stuff, let's call like this, to limit your data sharing possibilities. And it's your data in the wallet, right? So we focus on the full compliance and transparency, and that is really decentralized. And we focus on monetizing the issuer side, like so attestation, on ramping that data into the reusable data. This is where we focus on making the project profitable, and not on the downstream way. because I think it's unfair if you own your data. Yeah, so we released it. We've been at we released it at the biggest tech show in the world, and surprisingly, I must say, most of the interest is from very big players in the Middle East, very big companies that we are dealing right now. There are more companies than we can deal with, being a startup. But so we'll focus on three companies, and we'll deploy the industry specific wallets for like their own operations, which of course then the employee can take and use the outside on the reference wallet that you have in the App Store, because they can transfer the verifiable credentials with the DID. Yeah, so it's basically that. As I said, we are based here. I've just returned from Saudi Arabia from the meetings with the customer. Got very interesting feedback. So I'm sure we are the only company in the region like doing decentralized identity here, and I believe this region will lead the innovation across probably Africa, Asia, and the area here in Middle East. I think the States will be on their own, and Europe there will be a lot of wallets because of the regulations which will be national wallets. So I don't know how much they will have to do with also cryptocurrencies. Most of the wallets, they focus just on KYC, and I think the potential KYC is just tip of the iceberg. We have KYC because you need to have it. We also integrate now with the local identity provider, the government one, UAE Pass. So we will make it globalize the UAE Pass. That's far better for users who are like residents in Dubai and UAE. So that, and then we develop the solution, right? So there'll be more application. I will not disclose now all the details, but you will see some nice things coming very soon at the beginning of the next year. Because we got a lot of feedback, from the customers. So it's not our. We 2 years ago we did the bet, to bet on the decentralized identity space. But now we like verify it with the customers. We know what the people really want. It's the pain points. So we are moving in that direction.
I suppose that's one of the advantages, isn't it, of a bear market? It allows companies like yours, especially in a new emerging technology concept, to really build out, your product. You gain feedback from your stakeholders to build an even better product. So I think the bear market will benefit an organization such as yours for sure. So I'm really excited to see what the future brings, and I think when Empera are able to scale to demand, I think that you could be a real disruptor to the space, and it'll also encourage other projects to start their own solution to create a competitive market space, a genuine competitive market space, which I think competition is always good for industry because it forces companies to develop and improve on what they've really built upon. They don't go stagnant. And so, I'm really excited to see what this industry brings. And we've already discussed some of the potentials, sort of which, I'm really excited about, one in particular that you described as the smart meters, creating an asset class out of things that previously was not possible. That's wow. Now I'm going to have to start looking around and see, okay, what do I have that I can use as an asset? And prepare for that next stage of, I suppose, what will eventually be a new form of DeFi. So, as far as I'm aware, there's no questions from the viewers at the moment.
So let me add one more perspective, right? The identity will play a central role in tokenization, right? And making sure, like, if you want really to decentralize a little bit the tokenization of the real world assets, right? You need identity. You need to know who is the asset owner that is a legitimate asset, because there will be a lot of fake tokenized assets, right? You have a lot of fakes NFT collections, right? And it will progress even more. So I think the two biggest trends is definitely the tokenization of the real world assets. And the identity enables that, so in the safe way and secured. So I'm sure that will be two big subjects in the next few years. This will be the tokenization and identity, because they go hand in hand and they are complementary.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for your time today, Marcin. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
For anyone who has any questions, who watches this on YouTube, feel free to post comments on the YouTube, or otherwise join the BirbNest Discord, and post it in one of the chat channels there. And yeah, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what happens. I'm looking forward to communicating further with you outside of this as well, Marcin. I think we've got a lot to talk about.
Thank you very much, Mike. Thank you very much, Chris. Sorry, Milky. After 1 hour talking, getting tired. No problem. Fantastic. Thank you for having me here, and it was great session and great discussion.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Cheers. Bye bye.